All right, welcome back for another deep dive. Today, we're taking on a story you've probably heard before,
Oh, yeah.
the parable of the prodigal son, but I have a feeling you've never quite heard it like this.
Mm-hmm.
We've got an excerpt from a text that really digs into the nitty-gritty, and let me tell you, it's got some surprises, even for
Yeah.
those of us who think we know this story inside and out.
Yeah, what's fascinating about this parable is that it operates on so many levels.
Oh, absolutely.
Family drama, societal critique, and
Oh,
deep spiritual reflection all rolled into one.
exactly. And today, our mission is to go beyond the surface level,
Okay.
to uncover the hidden layers of meaning about forgiveness, repentance, and that radical kind of love that defies all expectations.
It's a story that forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about ourselves,
Yeah.
about the choices we make, and the
Yeah.
consequences that ripple outward.
Okay, so picture this, the younger son. He's not just asking for his inheritance, he's demanding it. It's almost like a slap in the face, right?
Yeah.
What do you make of that level of audacity, especially back then?
It's a deliberate provocation, a complete rejection of societal norms. He's essentially saying, I'm done with this life, with these expectations. I want to write my own story.
Right.
And the father surprisingly grants him that freedom.
And boy, does he ever use that freedom. The text mentions reckless living, but I'm curious, is it truly reckless? Or is there something deeper there? A yearning for something more, a misguided attempt to find himself?
I think there's a profound restlessness in the younger son,
Mm-hmm.
a hunger for experience that he tries to satisfy in all the wrong places.
Yeah.
It's a mistake we see repeated throughout history, isn't it? Trying to fill a spiritual void with material possessions.
Speaking of material possessions, it's not long before those run dry.
Right.
Famine hits, and he's left scraping the bottom of the barrel, literally.
Yeah.
The image of him envying the pig's food, it's not just poverty, it's utter degradation.
It's a visceral depiction of how far he's fallen,
Yeah.
how the pursuit of fleeting pleasures can lead to spiritual bankruptcy. And I think that's a powerful message for us today. What are the pig food moments in our own lives? Those times when we realize we've settled for less than we deserve.
He hits rock bottom.
Right.
But here's the turning point. He decides to return home not out of entitlement, but with a genuine desire to make amends. He's even willing to be a servant, which, knowing the social hierarchy back then, would have been a massive blow to his pride.
And that's where true repentance begins. Not just regret, but a radical shift in perspective.
Right.
He recognizes his wrongdoing and is ready to face the consequences no matter how humbling they may be.
But get this, the father doesn't even let him finish his apology. He sees his son from afar and hold on to your hats. He runs to meet him. Can you imagine that happening in that society?
It's a complete subversion of social expectations.
Oh, yeah.
Running was considered undignified for a man of his stature.
Nice.
But the father's love transcends those boundaries.
Wow.
He's not concerned with appearances, only with welcoming his son back.
And it's not just a quick hug. He embraces him. He throws a party, fine robes, a ring, the fatted calf. This isn't just forgiveness. It's a full-on celebration.
Yeah.
What does that extravagance tell us about the father's heart?
It reveals the boundless nature of his love.
Okay.
It's not conditional on good behavior. It's not earned or deserved.
Wow.
It simply is.
It simply is, yeah.
And the feast, the ring, those are tangible expressions of that overflowing joy, that sense of restoration and new beginnings.
It's beautiful, but it makes me wonder, is this kind of radical forgiveness even possible in the real world? Or is this just a parable, a beautiful ideal that we can strive for, but never truly attain?
That's a question we all grapple with, isn't it? But I think the parable is less about achieving perfection and more about recognizing the potential for this kind of love within ourselves
Right.
and in the world around us. It's
Yeah.
an invitation to step outside the confines of our own expectations and to embrace a more expansive view of forgiveness.
Okay, so we've got the younger son, the prodigal, the one who messes up and finds redemption.
Right.
But now let's talk about the older brother, the one who stayed home, did everything right, and is now, let's be honest, pretty ticked off.
Uh-huh.
Is he wrong to feel this way? I mean, hasn't he earned at least a little recognition?
The older brother's perspective is crucial
Okay.
because it reveals a different kind of struggle. The struggle with resentment, with feeling overlooked, with the subtle tyranny of always being good. He's been faithful, dutiful, but is that enough to guarantee love and acceptance? He seems to doubt it.
And that's where the parable gets really interesting, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It'd be easy to dismiss the older brother as just jealous or petty,
Yeah.
but there's something much deeper going on here.
Absolutely. The older brother's reaction challenges us to confront those uncomfortable feelings we might have about fairness,
Yeah.
about what it means to earn love,
Okay.
and about the hidden struggles of those who seem to have it all together.
He's been following the rules, working hard, being the good son. And now it seems like his brother gets rewarded for his recklessness. It's got to sting, right?
It's a classic case of sibling rivalry,
Oh, wow.
amplified by the societal expectations of the time.
Right.
Inheritance laws favored the eldest son,
Right.
but here the father is subverting those norms, showing a radical kind of love that isn't bound by tradition or obligation.
And the father's response to the older son is so crucial here. He doesn't dismiss his feelings. He doesn't scold him for being unwelcoming. He meets him with compassion and understanding.
Exactly. The father says to him, "Son, you are always with me, and all that is mine is yours." It's a powerful reminder that the father's love isn't a finite resource to be divided between the sons. It's abundant, overflowing enough for both of them.
But the older son seems to be stuck in this transactional view of love.
Yeah.
He's kept score, he's done his duty, but has he truly experienced the joy of relationship, the freedom of simply being loved without having to earn it?
That's the key question the parable raises, isn't it? What does it mean to truly receive love, not as a reward for good behavior,
Right.
but as a gift freely given? The older brother's struggle highlights the danger of becoming so focused on our own righteousness,
Oh, yeah.
our own accomplishments,
Right.
that we miss out on the experience of grace.
It makes me think about all the times I've felt resentful when someone else gets praised or recognized for something I felt I deserved more. That sense of comparison, the feeling like I'm constantly having to prove my worth, it's exhausting.
We all fall into those traps, don't we?
Yeah.
The parable invites us to step outside those limited perspectives and to recognize the abundance of love and grace that is available to us, regardless of our accomplishments or failures.
And there's that final line from the father about the younger son being dead and alive again, lost and found. It's so much more than just a family reunion, right?
Precisely.
It's about a spiritual transformation, a return to wholeness.
The parable operates on both a literal and metaphorical level.
Okay.
The younger son's journey back home represents a return to his true self, to a right relationship with his father,
Right.
and by extension with something larger than himself, whether that's God,
Okay.
a higher power, or the deepest truths of his own being.
And it strikes me that both sons were lost in a way.
Yeah.
The younger son was lost in the pursuit of fleeting pleasures.
Right.
The older son lost in his own self-righteousness.
That's a brilliant insight.
Oh.
The parable challenges us to recognize the many ways we can be lost.
Yeah.
Through our own choices, through societal pressures, through the limiting beliefs we hold about ourselves and others. And it offers hope that no matter how far we've strayed,
Right.
there's always a path back to wholeness, to reconciliation, to love.
But here's what really blows my mind. The father doesn't just forgive, he celebrates. The feast, the music, the dancing, it's like he's saying, let's rejoice because what was lost has been found.
That's the radical nature of forgiveness, isn't it? It's not just about wiping the slate clean.
Yeah.
It's about actively welcoming someone back into the fold, about celebrating their return with joy and gratitude. And I think that's a powerful message for us today. How can we cultivate that same spirit of celebration,
Yeah.
of radical welcome in our own relationships and communities?
You know, this parable has been interpreted in so many ways throughout history. Theological, psychological, even political. It's amazing how a story from thousands of years ago can still speak to us with such urgency and relevance.
That's the mark of a truly great story, isn't it?
Yeah.
It transcends its time and place and speaks to something universal in the human experience. The longing for connection, for belonging, for unconditional love and acceptance.
And it's not just a passive story we listen to. It's an invitation to participate, to examine our own lives,
Absolutely.
our own relationships, and to ask ourselves, where are we holding back forgiveness? Where are we clinging to resentment or judgment?
The prodigal son challenges us to look inward and ask ourselves, who are we in this story? Are we the reckless younger son,
Right.
the resentful older brother?
Yeah.
Or are we capable of embodying the father's radical love and forgiveness?
It's a question that stays with you long after the story is over, isn't it?
It is.
And it makes me wonder, what would it look like to create a world where that kind of radical forgiveness, that extravagant celebration of return, became the norm, not the exception?
That's a beautiful vision.
Yeah.
And I think it starts with each of us making a conscious choice to embody those qualities in our own lives,
Okay.
to choose compassion over judgment,
Right.
forgiveness over resentment,
Yeah.
and to celebrate the return of the loss, not just in others, but in ourselves as well.
This deep dive has been incredible. We've gone from a familiar story to uncovering layers of meaning I never even considered before.
That's great to hear.
And it's not just about understanding the parable, it's about applying those insights to our own lives, right?
Exactly. The Prodigal Son isn't just a story to be admired, it's a call to action,
Oh, wow.
an invitation to embody the transformative power of forgiveness and love in the world around us.
And this parable has inspired countless works of art, music, and literature throughout history. It's like this wellspring of creativity that keeps giving.
It speaks to the power of story, to illuminate the human condition, to offer hope, and to inspire us to live more fully, more compassionately, and more in alignment with our true selves.
It makes me think about how we all have our own prodigal son moments. Those times when we've strayed from our values,
Yeah.
made choices we regret, or hurt those we love.
And the parable reminds us that no matter how far we've fallen, how
Right.
deeply we've messed up, we are never beyond the reach of forgiveness and love.
It's never too late to begin the journey back home, to reconcile with those we've hurt, and to embrace the possibility of a new beginning.
Absolutely.
And it all starts with that willingness to turn around, to acknowledge our mistakes, and to step onto the path of healing.
And as we take those steps, we may discover that the most transformative forgiveness is the forgiveness we offer ourselves.
That's so powerful. It's like this reminder that we don't have to stay stuck in the past, in our guilt or shame. We can choose to release those burdens and embrace the freedom of a fresh start.
And in that space of self-forgiveness, we may find the courage to offer that same grace to others, to create ripples of healing that extend far beyond ourselves.
This conversation has been so enriching, so thought-provoking. I feel like I'm seeing this familiar parable with fresh eyes. And I'm already thinking about all the ways I can apply these insights to my own life.
That's the beauty of this parable, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a gift that keeps on giving, offering new layers of meaning and inspiration with each encounter.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listener with a question to ponder.
A question to spark further reflection and perhaps even action.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listener with a question to ponder. Who in your life might be waiting for that kind of welcome, that open-armed embrace
Oh, yeah.
that says you are loved no matter what?
And perhaps even more challenging, who might you need to offer that kind of forgiveness to? Maybe it's someone who's hurt you deeply, or maybe, and this can be the hardest of all, it's yourself.
That's such a crucial point.
Ah,
We talk about forgiving others, but sometimes the most difficult person to forgive is the one staring back at us in the mirror.
right.
We hold on to guilt, shame, regret. And those things can eat us alive if we let them.
The Prodigal Son reminds us that forgiveness isn't about condoning bad behavior. It's about releasing those burdens, about creating space for healing and transformation, both for ourselves and for others.
It's like we're all on this journey, stumbling, falling, getting back up again. And sometimes the most courageous act is simply extending a hand to ourselves or to someone else and saying, come on, let's walk this path together.
That's a beautiful image to leave our listener with. The Prodigal Son isn't just a story, it's a roadmap, a guide for navigating the complexities of human relationships, for finding our way back to wholeness, to love, to that place where we truly belong.
This has been such a powerful deep dive. I feel like we've only just scratched the surface of this timeless parable.
It's a story that will continue to unfold and reveal new layers of meaning as we journey through life.
And to our listener, I encourage you to revisit this story, to sit with its wisdom, to let it challenge and inspire you in new ways.
Remember, no matter how far you've strayed, how lost you may feel, you are never beyond the reach of forgiveness and love. There's always a path back home.
Until next time, keep diving deep.